Hey, this is Pat Johnston, host, writer, producer, and researcher, and just about everything else that is known as the Left of Lansing podcast. Now, this podcast is devoted to highlighting the progressive movement that's happening inside the great state of Michigan. Now, since I began this podcast around 2019, progressives have scored some major victories, including enshrining abortion rights in our state's constitution, gutting gerrymandering that Republicans benefited from for decades, increasing the state's minimum wages and paid sick time leave, expanding voting rights, and voting in some strong progressive legislators who helped develop strong progressive legislation that was later signed into law. Now, I'm not saying this podcast is the reason for those achievements. No, not at all. It's the progressives who are fighting on the front lines each and every day who are helping make that change happen. This podcast puts a spotlight on those progressives who are making that change happen and who are trying to make the political system work for everyone, not just for the elite few, but for everyone. Not for corporate donors who bribe politicians to re-regulate the marketplace for their own greed while trying to hurt hardworking Michiganders day in and day out. Not for the elite donor class that tries to siphon off money away from public schools and public school teachers for their failed school voucher scheme. Not for the elite corporate donor class that tells politicians in Lansing to give more and more and more money in corporate welfare handouts while they continue to slam us with more and more and more greedflation. Not for the corporate oligarch bros who care only about becoming more powerful at the detriment of the working class. And especially not for the Christian nationalists who want to send our society backwards with their warped views on American culture, which includes endless attacks on those who don't share their fascist viewpoints. No, the Left of Lansing podcast is about fighting against the right-wing oligarch machine and fighting for a system that works for every Michigander, not just for those who can afford lobbyists. As we say many, many times throughout the podcast, this is progressivism with passion. This is the Left of Lansing podcast. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast and subscribe to us on YouTube as well. As always, take the battle to them.